Hi, my name is Winston Porter. I'm president of the Waste Policy Center in Leesburg, Virginia, and formerly I was assistant administrator of the U.S. EPA with responsibility for solid and hazardous waste programs. The last few years I've worked as a consultant to Keep America Beautiful on a number of issues, but primarily on developing a new litter index or new litter measurement tool to be used by KEB affiliates. Today what I'm going to do is talk to you about this a little bit, and we're going to go out in the field and actually see some litter and try the new scale. Presumably now you've had some experience with the written descriptions of how the new 4-point litter index tool works. And as I say, what we're going to do today is go out in the field in a car right here in Leesburg, Virginia, and I'm going to show you some real litter and talk about the score which I gave it, the 1 through 4 score, and then tell you why I gave it such a score. Just to refresh your memory briefly, 1 on the 4-point scale, the new litter index scale, 1 is no litter, 2 is slightly littered, 3 is littered, and 4 is extremely littered. So that's the scale we'll be using here in Virginia as we go out and take a look. And what I'll be doing is, I say, I'll be talking you through this a little bit in the sense of starting and stopping as we go through so-called sub-areas of the city and give those areas an actual litter score. And then at the end of each score, I will tell you my thought process and how we did it. So that's really all I want to say as we get started here. Let's get in the car and go see some litter. Thank you. Right. In fact, okay. This is sub-area number 1. We're going to be going from Loudon Street down to Royal along Wirt Street, and we're looking to our right, and we're going to look for litter along this embankment here. And then we're going to turn the corner and look along the right-hand side here to see if we can see any litter. Okay, we're coming to the end of sub-area number 1. I'm going to give that a score of a 1 on the scale of 1 to 4. I'm giving that a 1. I did see a couple of bottles and things, but they were very minor. It was very hard to see them. One of the things about a number 1 is your first impression is there's no litter. If you look very hard, you might see a piece or two, but that's no huge deal. You could get on and pick it up by yourself, and we call that a no litter. So that's all for number 1. You're done. Okay, this is sub-area 2. We're behind the Virginia Village Shopping Center, and we're going to go along and see some litter behind a shopping mall. We're looking to our right, and you want to look as far as you can see. Now, the camera can't cover as much area as the eye can, but it'll give you a sense of where the litter is. We're looking up all around here, looking on the right-hand side in this sub-area number 2. We're now going to come to some cars, and you would actually be looking in between the cars. Again, anything you can see. Probably out of your viewfinder is the hill there, which you'd be looking up to, but I think you'll be able to see from the camera quite a bit of litter on the right-hand side. This is a very littered area. So we'll just keep on going here. Okay, that's the end of sub-area number 2, and let me just talk to you a little bit about that. This area was a 4. It was extremely littered. There was litter. The first thing you noticed about the area was litter. There was almost continuous heavy litter throughout the entire area. We could probably see some that you couldn't see in the camera, but it certainly was very littered, and that was definitely a 4. So that's the end of that segment. This is sub-area number 3. This is sub-area number 3. It's also an area behind a small shopping center in Leesburg, Virginia. These are fairly small areas, probably smaller than you might have in your own sub-areas, because I want to take plenty of time and show things to you. But you can see we're coming along here looking at litter on the right-hand side. There's trees here which you'd have to be a little hard to look through, but you want to look in and around the trees the best you can. And you'll see a lot of litter under that fence there. These are generally smaller pieces than we saw before, but it's quite littered. Okay, that area there, I would give at least a 3, perhaps a 4. Some of these are not crystal clear, but let's give that a 3. And as you may know also, we have the ability when it's very close like that to give it a 3.5. So I would give that either a 3 or 3.5 in that small area we just looked at, because there was a lot of litter, a lot of very small pieces, but it would take a very large amount of work to do that. Keep in mind, we're looking at smaller areas in some cases than you would be looking at, but that was 3 or 3.5, and that's all for that sub area. Are you ready? Okay, this is an area, kind of a park-like area. We're going along a small creek bed. This is sub area number 4, and if you look off in the distance, you can see quite a bit of litter against a bank over there. It's fairly clean in the foreground here near the car, but hopefully you can see litter in the far distance over there, a few scattered pieces here and there. We're going to go up and actually make a U-turn and come back down. This sub-area we've defined as up a particular street and then back down the same street looking on the other side. It's about a quarter of a mile down and of course a quarter of a mile back. So we'll just keep on looking here. Actually, I think what we'll do is we'll stop at the, we're going to be coming to another intersection. I think you get the point on this one, so I think I'm going to go ahead and stop here at this next intersection. I would give that a 2. That area, you saw some litter, but very light amount of litter. And a 2 is where you can see litter if you look a little bit. You can see certainly more than no litter, but it's a kind of litter where if you had to, you could get out of the car yourself and pick it up in a few minutes. It's not something that you need an organized effort to do, and it's not something that really jumps out at you and grab. It's not the first thing you notice about an area. It's something where you have to look a little more even to see any litter. And this had probably 8 or 10 scattered pieces off against the bank over there. So that's all for that sub area. Okay, this is sub area number 5. We're going to turn right here on Catoctin Circle and go about a quarter to a half a mile, looking on the right-hand side among these car dealerships and other commercial activities to see if we can see any litter. So I'm just going to be quiet for a minute and let you look. Okay, we're nearing the end of sub-area 5, and I would give that a 2. You didn't see much litter, but there was a fair amount of litter as we got near the Washington and Old Dominion bike trail. There was several pockets of litter, probably 10 or 15 pieces in kind of together, which would take some action. But again, it was generally pretty clean most of the way. It certainly was not pristine, but it didn't rise to the level of being littered where you need some kind of organized activity to go out and deal with it. So that's the score for sub-area number 5. Okay, you can start. Okay, this is sub-area number 6. We're starting about a half a mile stretch down Edwards Ferry Road here in Leesburg, Virginia, looking off to our right, up to the houses, and along the curb as far as we can see, looking down driveways, as much as you could possibly see in the entire area. So far, again, there's not much activity, but I'm going to be quiet for a minute and let you just look for litter. We're going to keep on going here through an intersection, and go down here to the next red light. Okay, we're coming up on the end of sub-area 6, and I would probably give that a 1. I did see a few pieces of litter here and there, but very spotty, and generally speaking, it was pretty clean all along the way. As you can see, a 1 is not rocket science. A 1 is basically no litter, except very, very sparse litter, and I think that falls in that category. So that's the end of number 6. Okay, this is sub-area number 7. And we're in a large parking area with Walmart and other commercial operations, and we're going to be looking for litter in this large parking area. One thing coming up on the right here is an out-of-place push cart from one of the local stores, which is a form of litter, any misplaced solid waste, which that certainly is. And again, I'll let you just look here for a minute as we drive slowly through this parking area to see what kind of litter we can find. There's another misplaced shopping cart on your right, I believe you'll see. Okay, that's the end of sub-area 7, and let me talk about that a little bit. That was an interesting one. You saw some very intense litter in a couple of areas. You saw quite a bit of junkiness around the back of the loading docks and things like that. You saw some shopping carts out of place. I would, and incidentally, anything that's out of place like that, you know, certainly contributes to litter. I would give that a 4 because of the very intense areas we saw. One of them, by the way, near a big recycling bin. There was a lot of litter around this recycling bin, and there was quite a bit of litter under various bushes and things. So that part, again, a kind of a small sub-area, but very intense. I would give that a 4. So that's all for that one. Okay, this is sub-area 8. We're going to come up on a little freeway bypass here. This is called the Route 15 bypass, and we're going to sail along here for about a half a mile on sort of open freeway. I'm going to actually get off the road here a little bit onto the shoulder because there's a lot of litter down in a drainage ditch along here. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it. Down in a drainage ditch and kind of across the way. So I'm going to slow up here a little bit. And you should be able to see a lot of litter down in the drainage ditch. Some of these you have to look at pretty hard. The road itself is fairly clear, but along this embankment and next again to the shopping area, there's a lot of litter along the embankment and down into a drainage ditch. So I'm trying to get over with a cameraman to get as much of that as possible. Okay, we're going to speed up now and kind of get back up on the freeway. It's not actually a full freeway, but it's a fairly fast road, so you've got to be careful how you do this. So we're going to go on now down to enter the town of Leesburg from the east side, on the Washington, D.C. side, and we'll be turning right into the town of Leesburg. And this is going to be the end of sub-area 8. And I would give that at least a 3. It was very intense litter there for a ways. A lot of you would need an organized effort to deal with that. That's not something you could jump out of your car and deal with. That was very intense, possibly even a 3.5. But there were areas of pretty open space where there wasn't much litter, and the roadway itself was fairly clear along the road, but certainly down there was a litter that we had to deal with. And again, one of the rules of thumb is it's something that's the word littered means just what it says. It was littered, and it was something you had to deal with. So I would give that a 3 or possibly even a 3.5. And that's the end of that one. This is sub-area number 9, and we're coming into the town of Leesburg. Just gonna from the east side, we're going to be looking along the side of the road, and as far as the eye can see, actually you probably can't see it with the camera, but we can look off into the distance here and see apartments and open areas, but we're looking primarily along the road, and so far at least we're seeing very little litter. And I'll just be quiet here for a second. Stopped at a red light here, and then we'll keep on going for about another quarter of a mile or so till we hit Catoctin Circle. It's another one of the main streets in Leesburg, and we'll be scoring as we go. Okay, we're moving again. Looking into some commercial establishments and gas stations, looking as far as we can off in the distance as well as nearby. Passing again one of the shopping areas. I'm driving along with the speed of traffic here, partly for safety, but partly because, frankly, we're not seeing much litter, so you can kind of keep moving fairly quickly as long as you're not seeing any litter. So okay, that's the end of sub-area number 9, and again, I would give that a 1. I saw just a tad of litter here and there, but fundamentally it was very clean, and the 1 or 2 things I did see, I could have jumped out of the car and picked it up myself without certainly not requiring any organized effort. It also met the other criterion for a 1, in that you had to actually look hard to see litter. It didn't jump out at you, so it was generally very clean area, very clean commercial area. So that's the end of sub-area number 9. Now we're going to be scoring an area. This is sub-area number 10. We're going from Catoctin Circle into the historic district of Leesburg, coming in again the commercial area, proceeding along in a westerly direction. So far so good, not much litter, but I'll let you look here for a minute as you look into these car dealerships and other kinds of commercial operations and along the road. Okay, that's the end of sub-area number 10 as we approach the courthouse here in Leesburg. It's the county courthouse. It's been here for a couple hundred years. And I would give that a 2, that area. Generally speaking, it was clean almost the whole way. There was a little area fairly intense where we had some litter a while back. Hopefully you saw that. And you could probably go a little higher than a 2, but I definitely don't think it was a 3. I would give it a 2. Somebody give it a 2.5. But it looked like what little litter we did see, or what could have been picked up fairly easily by 1 or 2 people without an organized effort or without the whole area looking littered. So that's the end of sub-area number 10. Is that on? Okay. This is an area right in front of the Loudoun County Hospital, or the former hospital, a small new residential area just coming in, and this is sub-area number 11. This again should be a very clean area, but we'll take a look and see what we see. I'm trying to show you also some of the land uses. As you block out your sub-areas, you'll probably want to have, you're going to cover a pretty big percent of your town or county. You also want to cover a number of land uses. And what we're doing here is trying to show you some commercial areas and residential areas and other things. So I'm going to come up here in front of this hospital building, which I think is now a retirement community. And again, it looks pretty clean, but when you actually score this, of course, there'll be no talking because we don't want to prejudge or have anybody influence anybody. I'm just talking a little bit to give you a feel for the thought process. But you won't be doing any talking when you're scoring. Okay, that's the end of sub-area number 12. And again, that was an easy one. As I said earlier, ones are not generally rocket science. I didn't see a single piece of litter. There might have been one or two, but you can score those areas very quickly. We generally find a 1 and a 4 are very easy. People recognize a 1 and a 4 pretty easily. So that's the end of sub-area number 12. Amount of litter here. Okay, this is sub-area 11. We're going to come along Loudon Street and turn right up here and make a little jog toward the local high school, and look along to the right here, this embankment, and see if you see any litter. Can make a swing here through a local convenience store and turn back on the right and go back to Loudon Street. Head back toward my office. Okay, that's the end of sub-area 12. I would probably give that a 2. It was pretty clean. I did see a little bit of litter here and there in a couple locations. That construction activity back there is not litter per se, unless something is been misplaced in the way of solid waste, but you don't count that per se. And I thought it looked pretty clean around the convenience store, pretty clean along the street, but a little bit of, you probably couldn't see too well because it was in the sun, some litter off in that field, but probably not rising to a level above a 2. Anyway, that's the end of sub-area 12. Okay, let me just wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed the little tour of Leesburg, Virginia. Fortunately, we didn't see a whole lot of litter, but we did see some. And I think you got a pretty good idea of what a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 is. A couple of things I might mention. First off, you may have noticed I was driving, which is not generally a very good idea for scoring. We don't want the scorers driving or vice versa. But I thought I would take it slow and do it myself because I knew what I wanted to show you. So that's one little word to the wise. Secondly, normally you'll be looking left and right and all around. With a camera, of course, it's a little harder to do from a moving car. So we're normally looking at just part of the roadway. When you define your sub-areas, you're typically going to be looking all around as you go along. And your sub-areas will probably be a little larger than ours. Sub-areas typically are about several blocks to even a mile or two in rural areas. We cut them sort of short because I wanted to show you what things look like, kind of in tight where we could find some litter. So anyway, I hope you learned something, and just let us know if you have any questions, and good hunting for litter. Thank you.